And welcome to Uncensored Conservatism. This is episode 96, continuing on the Spygate saga. Today we're going to take a look at the case of Edward Snowden. And I didn't really talk about Bradley called me Chelsea Manning, but after the damage of his revelation, which actually put WikiLeaks on the map, another whistleblower or traitor, depending on how you view it, came along. Edward Snowden. So who is he? What did he reveal? Why did he do it? And how did he gain access to such a treasure trove of information? I mean, technically he was a high school, not dropout, but when his family moved from North Carolina to Fort Meade, Maryland, he contracted mononucleosis, causing him to miss 9 months of school. He eventually got his GED before taking classes at a community college in Maryland. In May 2004, he joined the Army, wanted to be deployed to Iraq, but suffered a broken bone in his leg and was discharged from the Army. He got a job that required security clearance, working as a guard at an unclassified but guarded NSA facility. Responding to an advertisement for a job fair, he had been recruited by the CIA to work on global communications at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. He had a flair for computer technology and became a junior employee on the CIA's top computer team and was sent by the CIA for advanced training. He was deployed to Geneva, Switzerland under diplomatic cover to maintain computer network security. And he stayed at the CIA until 2009 when he left and went to work for Dell, a large computer company that managed the computer systems for many government agencies. He was assigned by Dell to an NSA facility near Tokyo, Japan, and his job was to educate intelligence and military officials on how to defend their computer systems from Chinese hackers. It's widely believed that Snowden downloaded secret documents while employed by Dell because he left some electronic fingerprints of his activity, and it is believed that he did so while the NSA was developing and extracting data from fiber optic cables. He briefed a conference in Tokyo on China's program of massive data collection, and this realization may have prompted Snowden to look into whether the United States had anything similar. In March 2012, he was reassigned by Dell to an NSA facility in Hawaii and charged with monitoring activity in China and North Korea. After that, his last 3 months of employment with a firm called Booz Allen Hamilton as a system administrator, although he insists he was an infrastructure analyst. Snowden quit his job at Dell 3 days after watching DNI James Clapper lie to Congress about a secret surveillance program. That is when he took the job and the pay cut to go to Booz Allen Hamilton, with one goal in mind: to get more information. Although Snowden denies it, he used his job title to trick about 25 employees at the NSA Center in Hawaii into giving him their computer credentials so that he could, quote-unquote, perform his job. Now, if Snowden had ethical or legal concerns about the extent of the NSA surveillance program, why didn't he go to the NSA to express his concerns? The first likely stop would be the Inspector General. Snowden insists he did, but that he was repeatedly rebuffed. He told his supervisors and co-workers that no one wanted to risk being fired or prosecuted, and apparently nobody did anything in response. He told Brian Williams in an NBC interview that the NSA had copies of emails he had sent to them about his concerns, but the NSA could produce only a single email from Snowden, and the subject was general. Excuse me. Striking out, according to Snowden, with these internal complaints, a decision was made to go to the press. He first reached out to Glenn Greenwald, a reporter with The Guardian then, contacting him using a fake name, Cincinnatus, offering him secret documents. Greenwald thought Snowden's insistence on security, like encrypted email, was too cumbersome. So that is when he Snowden contacted documentary film director Laura Poitras. In January 2013, she stated that an anonymous source contacted her requesting her public encryption key. She had been working on a documentary about government surveillance. Later that month, she contacted one of a frequent collaborator, none other than Glenn Greenwald, and they met in New York, where she revealed the information from her source. Greenwald realized it may have been the same person who originally tried to contact him. After decrypting the emails, she disconnected from the internet and wiped the messages from her computer. She also knew that if what was revealed was true, it could be life-changing. So unsatisfied with the pace of publication of his documents, Snowden reached out to this guy, reporter Barton Gellman at the Washington Post, in May of 2013. However, Gellman could not guarantee that the documents would be published within 72 hours as Snowden wanted. In May 2013, Booz Allen Hamilton granted Snowden a leave of absence to seek treatment for epilepsy. He instead flew to Hong Kong, where he met with Greenwald and gave a digital interview to Poitras. On June 5th, 2013, The Guardian started publishing the documents. Greenwald said that Snowden had turned over 10,000 documents. Within months, other documents were shared with The Guardian, Der Spiegel, Washington Post, New York Times, Le Monde, and others. The first revelation was of the FISC-approved collection of metadata from Google and Yahoo, known as Operation Prism. This was followed by reports on a black operations project called Tempora, run by the British equivalent of the NSA, the GCHQ, which shares information of an intelligence nature with the United States. There's also X-Keyscore, a program that could access the communications of the president, according to Snowden, if they knew someone's email. The NSA's off-the-book budget was revealed, and they were allotted $52 billion in 2013 alone. The U.S. government was paying U.S. telecommunication companies for access to their records. Operation Bull Run undermined encryption methods by piggybacking on tools used by advertisers to pinpoint hacking vulnerabilities and spying. Muscular allowed the NSA to secretly access Yahoo and Google data centers to collect information on account holders by tapping undersea cables. The NSA, CIA, and GCHQ spied on the users of Xbox Live and World of Warcraft to recruit would-be informants. The NSA even spied on their own in a program called Lovint, which tracked online sexual activity used to discredit would-be whistleblowers. The documents continued to be published in 2014, with one showing that the NSA could infect computers with malware. This was Operation Turbine. And another program where they set up fake Facebook accounts to intercept connections. He said that about 90% of those placed under surveillance in the U.S. are ordinary Americans and are not the intended targets. Reporters who have examined but not published the documents actually confirmed these claims. There was also a monster mind which could detect cyber attacks on U.S. systems and immediately fire back. However, he says such attacks can be spoofed by foreign countries to make it appear the attack was coming from another country. Within days of the revelations, U.S. authorities tracked Snowden to Hong Kong and requested that authorities detain him. Snowden boarded a flight for Russia since Hong Kong authorities said there was confusion about the request from the U.S. government. The State Department suspended his passport, and he left Hong Kong accompanied by a woman named Sarah Harrison of WikiLeaks. And it's assumed that WikiLeaks paid for his flight out of Hong Kong. Now, although there's confusion, Snowden claims he wanted to go to Havana. Greenwald later reported that Snowden was forced to stay in Russia since his passport had been suspended in transit. Secretary of State John Kerry denied this, saying the passport was suspended within 2 hours of charges being filed and while he was in Hong Kong, but that officials overlooked the problem. Snowden applied for asylum in 21 countries, but was denied in all. As for Ecuador, they initially extended a temporary offer, but it was withdrawn after Joe Biden called that country's leader. Putin placed a condition on granting him asylum. He had to stop publishing things that, quote-unquote, would harm our American partners. And in the lead-up to a G20 summit, Obama and Putin discussed the situation. Holder informed the Russians that they could issue Snowden a passport that would allow him travel only to the United States to face charges against him, and he assured the Russians the death penalty was off the table and that the trial would be in a civilian court. But Putin denied that request. One important aspect of the Snowden leaks is the alleged or potential damage they did to national security. Initially, Mike Rogers, the director of the NSA, he testified that the Snowden leaks were not the end of the world and that the agency had responded to them to make sure any program was not compromised. However, he also says there was a definite effect on intelligence gathering capabilities that may have created some gaps in ongoing surveillance programs directed at narcotics trafficking, terrorism, and money laundering. As Brendan Clapper and Michael Flynn later testified to Congress, they stated that terrorist groups were adjusting the ways they communicated to avoid detection after the publication of Snowden's material. However, maybe some of the damage done was the advancement in technology. When Pilfer documents came out, the end-to-end encryption was not a feature on the internet. This is when they scramble information on the internet so that only a sender and a receiver can access or view it. Today, virtually all messaging services offer end-to-end encryption, whether it be Facebook, Messenger, WhatsApp, and Skype. They all use it. What is interesting is that the Bush administration seemed to engage in a lot of legal hand-wringing over these programs, whereas the Obama administration treated them as a given. It's also obvious, given the $52 billion budget in 2013, that the Obama administration was taking things to new heights with the NSA spying apparatus, but towards what ends, one has to ask. Other than the bin Laden capture, there were no major intelligence operations that took down terror plots. Things may have gotten worse with the rise and spread of ISIS in Syria and Iraq. The terrorist attacks were becoming particularly more deadly in sub-Saharan Africa, especially Nigeria, and the usual hotspots like Somalia. Boko Haram and ISIS were not thwarted despite these NSA programs, and considering that 90% of the communications involved Americans unintentionally, if Snowden and reporters are to be believed, then one has to ask what they were being used for. If they were not thwarting terrorist attacks or disrupting their terrorist plans, what was their use under the Obama administration? And that's it. Thanks. Have a great day. More pleasant tomorrow.